What poppin' people, it's your boy Zero, aka Black Natsuki Subaru, and today we're here with the calm before the storm. I already know this is gonna be part of the storm, but the calm before the storm. We are going into ReZero Arc 9, Chapter 51, Yae Tenzen. This is basically like getting our second REM name chapter. So I'm not going to deliberate, but I do want to bring up like one thing. Now, as you guys know, I am of the black variety, obviously. So I wanted to take just a few moments to hold on. I wanted to take a moment to moment of silence for the black cosplayer who just took her own life. Her name was Ash, and I am not extremely into the cosplay community in the sense that like I don't really follow cosplayers like that unless like they're my friends. I don't really go into different forums, message boards. Like I'm not into that shit. Like I cosplay, yeah, but like I'm not that deep into that shit. But you know, like the racism, the hate. Look, I know this is a ReZero video, but I just wanted to bring this to you guys' attention because there's things that I see and it's like I don't want to make my channel about like fucking political shit or anything like what, like with the, but come on now, dude. I don't think that any of my ReZero boys are on any of that trash, but I do want to take like a moment of silence for her. I mean, I know the music's playing, but like I'm not a religious person. I'm not gonna go into it, but like I'm not religious, but I will hope that, you know, she is happy in whatever next life she gets and she's like where she wants to be, where she needed to be, but she didn't have to go that early. So moment of silence. Yeah, it's just like some sad shit. I don't want to make this like too sad or morbid of a recording, but you know, I have to, like, I don't really hear about this stuff that often because I'm just not really online like that, but it's come to my attention, so I had to say something about it. So it's just, I mean, I don't think that any of my boys are like this, so this isn't even targeted to you, but if this video reaches enough people, if it spreads, whatever, stop being a fucking bitch. Like, don't. So stop fucking with people like that. Like, bro, it's people cosplaying outside of their race. Who the fuck cares? Do what you fucking want. But anyway, enough of that. Now, we know how this goes. I know that this is going to be a crazy chapter, and like when I'm done with this, I'm going to go straight into Owl. Now, it may not be uploaded today, but the Owl is going to be it's going to be like a massive recording, because when I go through it, I'm going to read both chapters in one video, and I'm going to give my full thoughts and opinions on it afterwards, because this is one of the most important named chapters that we are ever going to get in ReZero. One of. So you guys know how this goes. Baka, I am bricked up. You're bricked up. Let us be bricked up together as we read peak fiction. Which I do got a little drinky drink right here. All right. Strap in. I hope you guys have your snacks because I'm going to experience Yae Tenzen for the first time. I think I read the first like 5, like 5 lines, 5 or 6 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just gonna start from right here. Therefore, any and all who took on the mantle of shinobi, without exception, etched that ironclad rule into their soul, abiding by it no matter the cost. And despite that, hey, you're that, ain't you? Same like me. You can do just about anything without so much as a second thought, and so life kind of loses its spark, doesn't it? Wouldn't it be fine to keep at least a single something in your heart then? When the village chief had spoken those words, grinning with a tidy set of teeth, left in spite of his old grinning with a tidy set of teeth, left in spite of his old age, Yae recalled wondering to herself where exactly that the ironclad law of the shinobi had disappeared to, and experienced some intense feelings of irritation. Included among them was a firm belief that she would never be able to live her life in such a way. The Crimson Sakura, Yae Tenzen, was an unparalleled genius of a shinobi. That was an unshakable fact, and something that even Yae herself was humbly willing to admit. Those around her had lauded her as possessing the greatest talents the shinobi village had seen since its founding, loudly voicing their admiration that her potential might even rival that of the admirer of the Kararagi city-states. They're talking about fucking, Alable? Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Don't be trying to glaze her all like that now. But like, I get it. I get it, right? To tell the truth, Yae herself had earnestly wished for them to stop comparing her to such an outrageous individual. But setting aside those feelings of the person in question, Yae's talents drew out a frenzy from the people of the village. In practice, if the thing known as talent was something that allowed for an almost prideful extent of shortcuts to be taken past the many hardships within a given field, then Yae unmistakably possessed the innate talents of a shinobi. However, contrary to that evaluation harbored by those around her, Yae fiercely hated the special treatment she received. That was akin to a psychological sense of rejection, a resistance towards the idea of being special. So perhaps it was a phenomenon that ought to be labeled as a special allergy. It did not bother her when others were given special treatment, but the moment she experienced special treatment for herself, she was assailed by an unbearable sensation, and began wanting to abandon anything and everything. It was that sort of visceral rejection. For Yae, who possessed this violent allergy towards specialness, the ironclad law of the shinobi that a village chief had personally deigned in the introduction was something she had exceedingly high compatibility with. To give one's heart to something was to create a kind of specialness within oneself. Since she had an allergy towards such specialness, Yae could obey the ironclad rule of the shinobi without very much effort. Certainly, it could be said that she was a woman who had been born to be a shinobi. But then again, that was one of the reasons why those around Yae were giving her special treatment. So it was truly quite the quandary. Now then, to begin with, the path walked by the shinobi was a steep one, and it was not something that could be easily accustomed to. Only one of 1,000 trainees would become a genin. Only one out of 1,000 genin would become a chunin. And only one out of 1,000 chunin would become a jonin. Such sentiments were commonly repeated due to how high the hurdles were. To this day, whenever Yae heard that example, she would think about how it would require 1 billion shinobi candidates. Well, it was a good thing that the senior shinobi had such awareness of just how grueling the path was, to the extent that it made them want to use such ridiculous expressions. No matter the torture, it was in human nature to want to undergo it whilst knowing this is meant to target this part, rather than suffering through it whilst wondering, what is the point of this? That's a good line. That's a good line. And yeah, like, I'm not gonna say like, oh, this is a Naruto reference. I know this is just like a ninja, like ninjutsu, like reference in general, just like the genin to chunin to like jonin to you know, like shinobi. It's gas. This is gas. This is already starting off as like a really solid chapter. And in practice, the process to complete a shinobi was undoubtedly the harshness known as torture. Yae believed that the shinobi training, which commenced around the age a child first gained awareness of the surroundings, was more aptly described as child abuse than it was torture. But the immortality that went into the making of shinobi was a list that went on endlessly. So stumbling at the entry would prevent this digression from progressing. First of all, the candidates for shinobi trainees were mostly children who had been abducted from other places. As mentioned previously, shinobi training began during the early stages of childhood, but the drills levied upon them were so inhumane and unreasonable that an abundance of them would end up dying in cold blood. For the sake of efficiency, instead of babies, they abducted toddlers who were at a suitable age to commence training right away. Here, the fact that the shinobi skipped straight past the most laborious infant stage revealed just how truly nasty their inhumanity was. And so, the first thing that abducted children were subjected to, above all else, was the disposal of memories. It was said that the methods consisted of drugs, signals, and techniques that had direct influence over memory, but it was not entirely clear. Only through these methods, the abducted children were wiped to clean slates, completely forgetting about their families and hometowns. Yae did not remember her parents' faces either, nor did she even know her own real name. Yae, it was a name that she had only received later on, and until then, she had simply been known, or called, Red Number 8, in accordance with her hair color. Those without aptitude would fail first at this memory disposal. For some, the memory erasure would not function effectively enough, and conversely for others, it would function too effectively, leaving them as useless husks. It was a mess right from the start. And so, to the extent that she even thought herself heartless, completely forgot her past in an instant. It had slipped away so effortlessly that even the one in charge of her memory disposal, Yae Tenzen, was left speechless, so much so that he told her about it afterwards. Incidentally, this Fujiro would later go on to be Yae's name giver, and was the previous Tenzen whose family name she inherited. That's cool. That's cool. I fucks with that. And just to make sure that we are... Yeah, okay. Audio seems to be good. That was cool. That was really cool. But even if he had the title of her name giver, their relationship was an emotionless, obligatory one of instructor and pupil. Familial only in name. From Yae's perspective, her impression of Fujiro more or less amounted to someone in the village with whom she had a high frequency of contact, who had also happened to bestow her with a name. Regardless, forcibly robbed of their heart's foundations, they would become a white canvas to be painted at the mercy of the black brush known as the shinobi. Once the children stripped of their past were prepared, the true essence of the inhumane training facility that was the shinobi village would begin. Not merely strengthening of flesh and muscles, but the very restructuring of the human body. That actually gives a lot more meaning to the name, the shinobi village, you know? So like, I mean, when Obart was like, the people of Chaos Flame are strong, but are they stronger than those in the shinobi village? Like, hey, I get it, bro. I get it. Very bold statements to be had. Rest in peace, fucking Subaru, for that infinite death loop, or 10-second death loop. God damn it. I wonder how that shit's gonna be animated. We don't even got season 4 yet, chat. Anyway, destruction and correction of the bones in order to achieve mastery over a soft body and acrobatics surpassing human understanding. Training to build up a resistance to poison by gradually advancing from small doses to lethal ones. Daily routines comprised of learning the dangers of martial arts and shinobi tools by the pain they inflicted upon the body, and being tasked with meeting a quota of broken bones, torn up flesh, and shed blood. Fears who had grown cold, unable to see the next morning, were scattered all about, since that too was a teaching material for the training to grow accustomed to death. It was forbidden to bury them, and instead, the putrid odor of those corpses rotting day after day was drilled into their minds, causing some of them to end up losing their sanity. Dude, this motherfucker's writing the fuck out of this chapter. Like, pause, what the hell? He's writing the fuck out of this chapter. All those so-called dreadful drills were essentially completed by Yae. No, even for her, calling it easy would be a lie. Yae had faced adversity in her own way, but it seemed to Yae that the adversity she had faced did not even amount to a single 10,000th of that which her peers had experienced. If that could be called talent, then she certainly had talent. The destruction and correction of her bones flipped the switches for pain perception within her, and the agony of the poison that seemed to melt and scramble her entrails was kept to a minimum, along with her bloody urine and stool. Damn it. Just by laying, damn it, whoa. As a kid, just by laying fingers upon a shinobi tool, she acquired a mastery as if she had been exclusively wielding it for 10 years. And after experiencing a martial art just once, she could use it to take down an opponent larger than herself, and would never be hit by it ever again. Only the smell of the dead bodies was tiring, but she got used to that in the end as well. So after such happiness, the very young Yae had become the first one of 1,000 at an unprecedented speed. From this day onward, you are to call yourself Yae Tenzen. The day Fujiro gave her that name was a day she had qualified to be a genin. Unfortunately, she harbored no particularly strong feeling on the matter. After all, she had been treated differently from her other peers since the point she had been called red number 8. So whether she had a name or not did not have any particular influence on Yae's self-perception. Only receiving such special treatment made her feel itchy, and she had thought it bothersome. For what reason Fujiro had named her Yae, she knew not even to this day. She had missed her chance to ask. By now, she had taken somewhat of a liking to it. And the Tenzen part also had a nice ring to it. It was far better than ending up with something like Yae Dunkelken through some sort of mistake. Upon hearing that sarcastic sentiment from Yae, the village chief had burst out laughing. You're starting to say some cheeky things, ain't you? Speaking of which, there was not a single person in the shinobi village who bore the same family name as the village chief. But whether that was because that village chief was a poor teacher or because he had abandoned his duties was unclear. Oh, I said that all in that voice. The former seemed more plausible, so that was what Yae suspected. Either way, even if she had gone from being called Red Number 8 to Yae Tenzen, Yae's path as a shinobi, as well as the very way the world felt to her touch, stood unchanged. That which had changed was not Yae, but rather the environment that surrounded her. Unmistakably, that was the prime reason why Yae had come to detest specialness so much. Now then, the fact that Yae possessed a special allergy has already been mentioned, but for her, the youngest and fastest promoted genin in history, a certain situation arose that caused this allergy to accelerate. Ultimately, everyone in the village ended up recognizing Yae's talents and abilities, but upon qualifying to be a genin, there was one who grew enchanted by her promising future. Fujiro Tenzen. As her name giver, and as the senior who provided her with guidance, Fujiro was completely enthralled by Yae's abilities to take the first piece that he taught her and extrapolate the next 100 or 1,000 pieces, let alone 10. Namely, that was an act that ran counter to the ironclad rule of the shinobi to give their heart to anything. He was left with no choice but to forge the unparalleled genius Yae Tenzen into an extraordinary shinobi with his own hands. Fujiro had ended up blindly obsessed with that sense of duty. "You have more than enough talent for it. Why can't you understand that?" As Fujiro exclaimed, so with bloodshot eyes, he harbored a fanatical belief in Yae's talents. Day by day, she felt the eyes with which he looked at her tinged with more and more ardor. But the damage brought about by their eruption was far greater than what Yae could have imagined. With Yae's specialness speared into his mind, Fujiro had arranged the crawling bane, a rite structured in the same manner as the imperial selection ceremony that was used to decide the next emperor of the Valachian Empire, dragging in 30 genin who were the same rank as Yae at the time. It was a reckless folly capable of spelling the demise of the village. The genin were taken out to a forest far removed from the village, and they were ordered to fight to the death until only one last person remained standing. Without questioning those directions from their superiors, lives were expended in futility. Just as Fujiro had hoped when he devised the rite, the only one still standing in the end was Yae Tenzen. However, she never once took up the offensive against the others. Instead, using the tactic of turning the tables on any opponent who came after her, and in the end, when she let her final peer get away when he pleaded for his life, Fujiro had gotten exceedingly incensed. To be precise, it was not just him, it was all of them. Enthralled by the talents of Yae Tenzen, Fujiro was not the only one who had gone astray. Inspired by his words, or perhaps by directly witnessing Yae's growth, there were a number of people who wished to have Yae shoulder their distorted expectations by holding the ritual they had named the Crawling Bane. Yae had betrayed the expectations of those who blindly believed in her. However, rather than causing their ardor to subside, their fervor only intensified, explosively flaring up. If they had simply dealt with Yae after she betrayed their expectations and then took their own lives, it would have still been somewhat endearing. But for those who had steeled their mistaken resolve to repeat the Crawling Bane as many times as necessary until Yae was established as the model of the ideal shinobi they desired, there no longer existed any remedy. "You are the one who shall overturn the very way a shinobi ought to be." Okay, Getsus from Black and White. God fucking damn it. I don't know how far we are. We've been going for about 23, 24 minutes. If you guys have been enjoying the reading so far, leave a like. Don't forget, share this shit with the boys. Share it with your homies who may not be hip to a lot of people who are doing live readings of what's concurrent. And also, don't forget, there's a link in the description to my Discord server. There is a channel dedicated strictly to ReZero. I'm going to be expanding more on it. I'm going to be getting channels such as waifus, fucking theories, other shit like that. Right now, it's just ReZero and ReZero's discussion, ReZero spoilers. It's a great community. All the people there are super fucking sick. They're very active. And if you wanted a safe space where you can go in, have fun, talk shit with your other homies that love ReZero just as much as you do, check out the link in the description below. Now I'm not even gonna say selfless plug. I just want y'all to have a community. But anyway. Talking is some powerful thirst quenching work. I spit on my pop filter a little bit. All right. All right. This music is very high intensity, high energy. The genin were taking out to a forest. Wait. Oh shit. I thought I already scrolled. Collapsing as he spoke those words, Fujiro had died, believing in Yae's potential until the bitter end. The throat repeating that grating assertion was gouged out, and ironically enough, The beautiful blossom of snow-white sakura petals began to flutter down upon the corpse of her name-giver and his foolish comrades, face down in a pool of their own blood. Yae recalled those blood-stained cherry blossoms alongside an indescribably sense of futility. Oh-ho! Now this here's quite the big deal, eh? Has a lass whose rump's still as pale as snow really gone and taken down all of them, even though they were even Jonin in their midst? Having hastened to the scene a bit later, the village chief gazed over Yae and the corpses of the young men surrounding her, and then let out those carefree remarks. It seemed like the secret operations of Fujiro and his allies had been grasped by the higher-ups of the village. So regardless of the outcome of the outcome of the crawling bane, there likely would have been no future for them. She did not want to entertain the idea that the reason for this delayed response, despite having such a grasp on the situation, was because they had decided on leaving it entirely up to Yae to deal with the disruptive elements to the village. So, all of them ended up dying. And although that suspicion was not the reason, Yae lied in response to the village chief's question. The reason why Fujiro and the others had been displeased was the fellow genin whom Yae had turned a blind eye toward when he had pleaded for his life. She concealed the fact that not only had she allowed him to flee the crawling bane, but to run away from the shinobi village entirely. Damn, okay. So right now, I definitely understand why she hates the feeling of being special. Like, for her, that means something entirely different from what Amelia feels, right? When she said initially she hates the special treatment. And for Yae, it's like there's a lot of stuff in ReZero that really revolves around familial bonds, like expectations, and just like how different people choose to respond to the different scenarios, obstacles, and things presented to them based on things such as like the aforementioned, you know, like the expectations based on your lineage, your parents, you know, maybe putting certain burdens on you, the people around you. Like, this is a very strong theme that I heavily relate to. Is one of the main reasons why I fell in love with like certain parts of the storytelling for ReZero, is because it's so, like, they can be explaining just like the way that the whole like Jonin Genin like process is, all that shit, but you know, they're using like a blanket like thing to explain something that anyone can relate to when it comes to just like the multitude of complexes anyone can have based on how they're treated, what environment they have, who they have around them in that environment, and just like how they plan to tackle it and or get out. Like, I think this shit is like Arc 9, dude. Arc 9, like at this point, like right now, it's almost tied with like Arc 4 for me, man. It's almost tied with Arc 4. Like, Arc 6 is still number 1. Arc 6 had very little flaws, if any, that were significant. It basically like damn near the fucking perfect arc, Loki. Arc 4, basically same energy as Arc 6 for me. Arc 9 has been hitting so crazy. Arc 9 has been hitting so crazy, and just like the writing has just been going so stupid, bro. Like, if you guys, okay, let me know how you guys feel about Arc 9 in the comments. Like, if you're reading this, like, just literally, like, I don't really care if there's a small amount of engagement or a lot of engagement. If you are liking Arc 9 right now, if you think this is a really good arc or solid arc, just let me know in the comments. Like, I actually want to talk about it. If not in the comments, join the Discord. We can talk about it there. You don't gotta like put yourself in the comments, but I'm just saying, dude, man, fuck, dude. I'm not saying that like I'm emotional about Yae, but like I get it. I get a lot of what she's been going through, And for her to basically try to let one of the Genin escape, not just like the crawling bane, but to leave the village because she realizes how fucked up this shit is, that's telling you, like, dude, she didn't lose her sense of morality necessarily, even though in the current like version of her, we're seeing how she's so ready to kill. But we can also understand why it's so easy for her to hold back from killing. It was something that she never seemed like she wanted to do unless she had to, but she was so used to having to kill. I wouldn't even say she grew cold to it. She just was doing what she had to do. But when giving an option, being Al saying like, hey, look, don't kill anyone, she's like, okay. Damn it, chat. I might have to pour big boy right now. Yeah, I'm gonna pour big boy. I'm not gonna do it on camera. Give me 1 sec. All right, we're back. Dude, the writing is like so fucking good. Honestly, like I can't even, bro. That peer has suggested, in that case, you also gonna flee with me? To her. But Yae firmly refused this offer. It was not that she had wished to remain in the village, but that she simply had not wished to stand alongside him. In terms of both skills and talent, Yae was vastly superior, and yet her instincts were alarming her. If death were to ever come for Yae, it would be when she stood on his side, by his side. My bad. And so, when that peer of hers took his leave and gave those parting words, she sensed his desire to eliminate every person who knew of his existence. But thanks to him being rational enough to abandon that goal, Yae and the fellow Genin made it out of this crawling bane as the final survivors. But it ended without her being the sole survivor. Because it ended without her being the sole survivor, Yae wondered if her own status as special might erode, even if just a little bit. And as she thought such things, well then, let's start hitting back now, Crimson Sakura. Turning his back towards her, the village chief called Yae by that alias for the first time. Until the bitter end, Yae had not known why Fujiro had named her Yae, but the reason why the village chief had called Yae by that alias was clear even without needing to say it. After all, on the night brimming with excessive shinobi deaths, the full bloom of the snow-white sakura was lavishly dyed in blood. There is no fucking shot or way that that is Todd. There is no way that that is Todd. There is no way that that is Todd. I'm sorry. If that is, why does that look so much like Todd? Whoever did the art, why? Why? The Crimson Sakura Yae Tenzen was an unparalleled genius of a shinobi, and the youngest to ever be promoted to Jonin. That perception of her had become widely known as something unshakable, so Yae's special allergy had worsened to a point beyond any help. To Yae, being treated as special by others was something of a curse, a menace, an abhorrent interference that brought nothing but negative influences onto her life. Things like expectations or hopes often had a strong positive impression, so there were far too many people in this world who would wave them around while blind to the fact that they could become blades gouging deep into others. Moreover, blades wielded blind made it difficult for both aggressor and victim to notice the wounds. Truly a nasty characteristic. Such things had held a great deal of sway over her life thus far, and Yae was completely sick and tired of it. Hey, you're that ancient. Wait. Ancient. Same like me. You can do just about anything without so much as a second thought. And so life kinda loses its spark, doesn't it? Wouldn't it be fine to keep at least a single something in your heart then? And so, when the village chief said those things to Yae, despite being despite being fully aware of the blades, she seemed truly odious. The village chief was personally advising her to do something like break the ironclad law of the shinobi. She could not think him sane. To begin with, Yae did not seek anything like a spark in life. Such a thing would be a superfluous accessory. A spark, namely that was the act of harboring expectations from one's own abilities, or placing hope in one's own future. It was none other than believing in one's own specialness that was undeniably Yae's landmine. Hence, Yae deliberately distanced herself from the image of the ideal shinobi that everyone seemed to be placing their hopes and expectations in. That was the exact opposite of the ideal shinobi image that Fujiro Tenzen had staked his life attempting to complete. A frivolous attitude, speech, and conduct that left nowhere to grip onto, and a friendly demeanor that would absolutely never get along with anyone. Bearing such a facious humanity, Yae Tenzen's personality took shape. She did not wish to be misinterpreted, so she would assert it here. This was the natural consequence of Yae spurning the notion of specialness, and was by no means something inspired by the village chief's own nature. Without getting deeply involved with anyone's life, without ever confronting anyone head on, and without being held dear by anyone, that was the very worldly wisdom that the Crimson Sakura, Yae Tenzen, had arrived at. Her life philosophy. Surely you do not misconstrate that disgraceful way of being for your own nature, do you? Addressed in such a manner, when the two of them were all alone, Yae held her breath before the Crimson Beauty. Yae, with her special allergy having worsened, oh, that must be Priscilla, hating being treated as special by others at the same time, had developed a keen sense of smell for specialness within other people. In that regard, the woman with whom Yae was now in close contact was an individual who seemed to be the embodiment of nothing but specialness, both inside and out. But then again, her specialness was so glaringly obvious to anyone that having a keen nose was hardly necessary to ascertain it. This is either Ram, or Priscilla. The Bloody Bride, Priscilla Burial. Writing has been peak. Writing has been fucking peak. I know that next chapters are about to go fucking stupid. Oh my god. For Yae, who had completed all sorts of missions as a shinobi, the days spent together with that woman, who was fondly called the Sun Princess by the local population, were quite striking and profoundly memorable. Originally, Yae's infiltrations as a maid in Priscilla's vicinity had been something set into motion by Chaisha Gold, one of the Empire's 9 divine generals. Just what sort of significance a woman participating in the royal selection of the faraway kingdom of Lagunica had to the Empire was not something Yae had been informed of, nor was it something she had even thought to question. The essence of the shinobi was to obey commands without asking too much, and Yae considered that a preferable trait. The only one who would brazenly disobey the village chief, and since Yae was not the same as him, she remained obedient. That said, it was a bit of an illogical and enigmatic mission. Fundamentally, her job was to monitor the target and report on her actions. She had not received any particular instructions for disruption or sabotage, nor was it simply a matter of a quick assassination. Since Yae had been designated to this task, there was no doubt that they were counting on her befitting skills and ability to return alive. But while she was undercover at the mansion, her days as a simple maid went on monotonously. She was loath to say it, but this felt like a bit of a waste of the genius shinobi that was the Crimson Sakura. In practice, the innate talents Yae had been bestowed were not just that of a shinobi. There was an all-purpose nature to her that allowed her to easily master most other things. And so, flawlessly mastering all the duties of a maid, Yae's infiltration of the burial mansion was a job just as easy as all her other missions up to this point. However, only when she interacted directly with Priscilla did she need to pay extra careful attention. I know that this is going to have something to do with Al. I know we're going to get more into Al. This shit is literally fucking like, this is peak writing. Like, I know that everyone says like, oh yeah, like peak is being overused with ReZero. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. It's literally peak. Bro, like, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. This shit bro, like, I know I haven't read every piece of fiction, and there's quite a lot of things that I do want to read. I'm currently reading ORV. I'm currently like well, I haven't been catching up, following up with this one, but like I am at least 450 chapters into Lord of the Mysteries. I know, yep. Like which is a lot. Like I've been reading some other shit, man. I know about Shadow Slave, of the World After the End, T-Bait, whatever. Like I know about these other series. I just have to get to them. But like, Jesus fucking Christ, this shit just doesn't miss. It doesn't miss. Fuck. Damn it, chat. Like, I wouldn't be this deep into this series if it wasn't so good. God, dude, my preferred media to consume stories is video games. Also, chat, let me know. I'm going to ask this in every single stream until I get like a hard confirmation, or not stream, but like ReZero video. Do you guys want me to play the ReZero like video game on stream live? Hold on. Chat. Damn it, it's not letting me. I hate the Switch too, dude. But Prophecy of the Throne, I literally have the shit. Do y'all want me to play that shit on stream? Let me know. Dude, all of my Switches are fucking dead, bro. Like, all my Switches are like, dude, all like, except for like the Switch 2, because that shit was just like on charge. Like the fucking OLED and like the OG are fucking dead, bro. Damn. I'm gonna put these on charge real quick. I'm not stopping the stream. Sorry, I could have paused. Anyway, if y'all want to see me play that shit, let me know. Let me know. This was like a brief intervention. Sorry about that. Like, we're gonna go back. All right. Huh, man. It'd be fun. It'd be fun. For Yae, who had accomplished all sorts of missions as a shinobi, the days spent together with that woman, who was fondly called the Sunprint. Wait. Oh, wait. Again, I forgot that I didn't scroll down. Throughout her career, Yae had gotten all sorts of opportunities to glimpse important figures. Counted among those were the white spider who had ordered Yae on this mission. And for the most part, her village chief, known as the Vicious Old Man, was also an important figure in the Empire. He had also seen His Excellency, the Emperor, from a distance. Back then, the Blue Lightning standing next to the Emperor had locked eyes with her and given her a wave of his hand, leaving her with the trepidation that there would always be somebody on a higher level than her. Sexton is just fucking like just walking with like Princess from like a Disney, like, hey, I can cut you up easy, like, bro, like, dude, oh my god, like, I love this. So even from Yae's perspective, having encountered those sort of first-rate individuals, Priscilla's insight had a somewhat unfathomable quality to it, making it impossible to anticipate just how much she had actually seen through. Even though it should not have been possible, she had questioned many times if even her own identity as an assassin from the Empire had been seen through. Only if that suspicion were true, there would have been no reason to keep turning a blind eye to Yae, so her identity should have still been a secret. But was that really so? Priscilla was so difficult to read that it was entirely possible that she would turn a blind eye even if she became privy to Yae's identity. That could be called a disposition towards favoring danger without valuing her own life. And perhaps it could just be outright classified as the delusion she fully believed in without caring what anyone might think. Repeating on a daily basis how the world would unfold however she wished it to. Either way, considering it a misfortune, Yae pitied the special Priscilla. Priscilla possessed exceptional beauty. Exceptional. Of course. But she also harbored a bewitching allure that charmed others with her mannerisms, words, and even the manner in which she breathed. Whether she desired it or not, that specialness would catch the eyes of all sorts of people, leave marks upon their lives, and stir their emotions. A great number of people would likely place their hopes and expectations on her, only to be consumed by foul desires and emotions. After all, even this pity that Yae felt was something that had been brought about by the specialness possessed by that woman. And as if reading right into Yae's heart, she had spoken those words mentioned prior. Eyes cast down onto the book in her hands while sitting in her private room, just as Yae was serving tea, noticing how she did not pass even a single glance in her direction. Priscilla had suddenly spoke those words without any forewarning. Priscilla is one of the best female characters in ReZero. Like, her writing is actually fucking diabolically good, even though a lot of it came right before she died and then after she's died. Like, dude, what the fuck? They literally took out one of the best written, like literally one of the best written characters by far, like especially for the females. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say early because it was far in. It was far in. But the amount of content that we got from her without having read the EX novels, because like I haven't read those yet. Let me know if you guys want me to read the EX novels on screen, because like I will do it, because like I was gonna buy them bitches anyway. Let me know if you guys want me to read the EX on screen, and if so, which one you want me to read first. I might make a poll for it later, but yeah. Part of why I've been deliberating a little bit is like I've actually been reading quite fast. I'm just now getting at 50 minutes, and low key I feel like we're not that far in, but if I just like read it straight without my commentary, then what the fuck's the point? You can just read the audiobook, you know? And we'd be done. But dude, this is cinema. Where am I? Okay. Regardless, as had been mentioned previously, Yae was always on guard when interacting directly with Priscilla. So even at this juncture, though she had received a bit of a surprise, she had managed to respond with her usual frivolity. Damn it. Some words, I look at it and then like my brain is like boom, 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 boom. Even if I know that. Mixing in a light playfulness and acting as if she had no mind to earnestly grasp the meaning, she forced a smile. And seeing Ye's unchanged attitude, Priscilla closed a single eye. Someday, you too shall have no choice but to expend everything you have to offer. Be diligent and keep mine words close at heart. Your preparations must be perfect. Yes? I wonder if Al told Priscilla anything. Wait, no, like that wouldn't make sense. Okay, wait. Is it possible that, oh my god, my brain, dude, I need a live stream. I might live stream after this. Fuck. No, I can't. I gotta live stream after I finish Al. Fuck! Damn it! Yae never asked about the true meaning of those words. Her shinobi instincts warned her that asking again might arouse suspicion, but probably more so than that, Yae was loath to do so. From the lips of the special Priscilla, she did not want such inconvenient words to be hurled at her. For that reason, Yae did not grasp the true intent behind Priscilla's words. Neither did she know the reason Fujiro had named her Yae, nor did she know the village chief's intention in endlessly trying to get her to break the ironclad law of the shinobi to the point it felt like harassment. She knew nothing. In order to avoid being treated as special by others, continue to plug her ears and avert her eyes from all of that. After all, that was Yae Tenzen's life philosophy. Not designed to be special, in order to not be desired as special. In the end, Yae's thinking turned out to be correct. Having shown some radiantly captivating great numbers of people with her flame-like special way of being, even Priscilla had ended up laying down her life in those cruel and merciless lands of the Empire. No. Stop. That is such good. That's such good invisible ink for her character, because she doesn't know that Priscilla knew that both Al and Subaru can return by death. And the fact that she chose she chose to die of her own volition, knowing that both of them could save her. Either one of them could. But she chose to get out to help and do her own thing. God damn it. Oh my god, dude. The ending of Arc 8 was fucking cinema. What the fuck? That might be like one of the best endings to any arc. Period. Top 3 minimum. I'd say Rem waking up in Arc 6, at the end of Arc 6, and like, I'd say like, okay, like it's not gonna be in this order. I'm just gonna say them. My favorite end to the arcs. It has to be like not in this order. Top 3. Who's Rem? Rem waking up, and Priscilla dying. Those are my favorite arc enders. I'm sorry. Let me know your favorite arc enders in the comments. If you got this far, I know you're still reading. I know you're still listening. Let me know if you're this far. What are your favorite arc enders? And why? We'll have a conversation about it. Like, damn it, dude. The arc enders are brutal. No. Actually. No. Wait. I'll take out. Oh no. Who's Rem? Like that's a little crazy. Shit. No. Another one that competes in the same boat is like Echidna getting out in like the end of arc 4. Damn it, every arc ended so crazy. Yo, what the fuck? Every arc ended so fucking crazy. Like, I'd say, like, one of the weakest is maybe arc 5? Maybe? But we don't got that much. Oh, okay, alright, I'm just gonna... God. Fuck, man. Now you're making me think about it in real time. All right. Damn it. Where am I? Okay. Neither did she know the reason Fujiro had named her Yae, nor did she know. Wait, did I? Wait. Did I read all this yet? From the lips of the special Priscilla, did she not want such inconvenient words to be hurled at her? Neither did she know. Nor did she know the village chief's intentions in endlessly trying to get her to break the iron. Yeah, okay, no, am I at the end? No. I was like down here. So I'm losing my train of thought because like my mind's like racing like a beat a minute, like a beat a second. God damn it. Having shown so radiantly, captivating great numbers of people with her flame-like special way of being, even Priscilla had ended up laying down her life. Yep, okay, that's where I was at. Thus, while fiery emotions with no place left to turn scorched his soul, the one who had yearned for that special woman was no longer among them. Even now, still wishing to repay her, was burning his life to naught in order to do so. Yae Tenzen did not wish to live her life at the mercy of such specialness. And I can also interpret that as having too much put on your plate just because you are who you are and how you are. That was why. That was precisely why. That was why, as soon as possible, she would rid the world of the specialness that had burdened her with such an indescribable fixation. Unmistakably, that was the sole reason why Yae was willing to risk her life to assist the man abandoned by the specialness his heart had yearned for. The discus of ice rapidly revolved on all axes without consideration for its surroundings. Yet still, using it as a platform whilst constructing the battlefield, Yae intercepted the incoming Oni girl, Rem. The steel thread, reeling from her right hand, dashed up vertically, and a steel thread from her left hand. From her right hand. Sorry, my bad. A steel thread reeling out from her right hand, dashed up vertically, and a steel thread from her left hand snagged a dagger to perform a horizontal sweep. The two varieties of precise and difficult to avoid severing flashes pincered Rem from the front and behind. due to the cooperation of her opponents. Yae had failed to stop Amelia from fleeing the battlefield. Having grown wings of ice upon her back, Amelia received the momentum of the ice discus that had been forced into a spin, and caught the wind, chasing out as he soared far off to a distant sky. She was rapidly gaining speed. As she got further from the two, who could do nothing but plummet straight downward head first, she at least escaped the range at which a steel thread could still reach her. It was not impossible to use a thread to launch some projectile like a stone fragment or sword at her, but looking away is forbidden! With that countering the double-layered attack from a moment prior by meeting the dagger with her Sorry, I got cooked. With her chains, and bending down to evade the steel thread, Rem obstructed Yae, causing the chance to take such an action to slip through Yae's fingers. While gritting her teeth at that failure, Yae pivoted to getting away from Rem as she rushed her down, and using the steel thread she sent out as a grasp, she executed a wide turn, circling around the other side of the ice discus. Isn't it a bit unfair to become so formidable all of a sudden? For what reason? It's love! Shouldn't have asked. Chasing after Yae, as she went over to the other side of the ice disc, Rem smashed through the ice by sheer force, distancing herself at an apt medium range from the barbarity of the Oni girl, whose vitality surged along with the brightness of a horn on her head. Yae's footwork managed to sidestep the iron ball wielded by the stout arm, and sticking to the revolving platform, she spun around behind Rem. It was a high velocity, but although there was a certain randomness to the direction of the ice disc's rotation around its origin, the speed of rotation itself had a fixed rhythm to it. As long as she kept to that, there was no risk of losing the platform, and so Yae freely danced across the ice, leaping and bounding as if in flight. In contrary to Yae's magnificent mastery over the ice disc, Rem's movements were plain and simple. Simple and clean. Won't let you do that! As Rem firmly declared so, she struck the ice with a pointed hand, with her tips of her toes, and with the iron ball held close to her in her grip. Using them as wedges to secure herself, she ferociously secured Yae with beast-like movements. Far removed from refinement or grace, the hunting style that was of a savage carnivorous beast, and yet she was fast. As Yae fled in a dance, the distance between the two of them was shortening in the blink of an eye. Aren't you way too unconcerned with appearances? And isn't that totally improper conduct for a maid? Unfortunately, there's only one quality our master requires from his maids: utmost effort. Ooh, okay. A bar? Okay. Aren't you way too unconcerned with appearances? And isn't that totally improper conduct for a maid? Unfortunately, bitch, there is only one quality our master requires from his maids: utmost effort. Damn it! Ooh, shit, bro. Bro, the fact that however long this chapter is going to be, the Aldebaran next chapters are going to be double the length of this is going to be crazy. Damn it. Raising her face, Rem twisted her body with three of her limbs as anchors, utilizing the rotation of the ice disc to launch an attack. Launch an attack of her iron ball with minimal movement. Its might was dispersed through the mobilization of the steel threads, but as she had needed to fire them directly to her side, Yae internally clicked her tongue, A battle to decide the best made between the two factions. Yae did not have the leeway to joke about such things. Superior in skill, Yae could even assert that she was 3 stages higher in terms of strength, but against Rem, Yae simply had a poor affinity. The Morning Star wielded by Rem was a mighty weapon, and those kinds of heavy weights attacked and that aimed to guarantee a kill with a single blow were the most troublesome to defend against using steel threads. The strength of steel threads was that they had the potential to defend against any attack so long as they were bundled and intertwined together. But that necessitated the adequate amount of time as well as a suitable number of threads. For Yae to defend against Rem's blows, she needed to use at least 7 fingers to guarantee safety. If she was unwilling to do that, then she would also have the option of dodging, but the aim is way too accurate. Despite how unstable this platform was, Rem was able to launch her iron ball in a way that came biting at Yae as if it were a great serpent. Each throw followed a trajectory straight towards the exact middle of Yae's body, and although she would not fail to defend against it, even if she held her eyes closed, the rhythm of her attacks was collapsing. And on top of it, and to top it all off, the fearsome combat capabilities of the Oni clan would now be thrown into the mix. With all 4 of her limbs planted in the ice discus, Rem's entire body discharged red steam as she roared. Oh, is she doing something with Ram? That was the result of the low temperature from falling thousands of meters from high altitude. The Oni clan trait of invigorating all the mana surging through their body, and finally, rapidly regenerating from the lacerations given to her from Yae's steel threads. Until now, while Yae was evading Rem's lethal blows, she had carved her with many wounds that aimed to render her incompatible of fighting, but none of them could outstrip the Oni's regeneration. And above all, bringing her rings to her lips in a kiss, the steel threads were once again swallowed by tongues of flame. That instant, after Yae had blanketed Rem's vision in flame, she aimed for the neck of the enemy on the other side of this heap, and with a flick of her arms, with a speed nearing that of sound, the steel threads flashed as it aimed to perform a decapitation. That was one of Yae's original techniques that could not be found written down anywhere in a book of secrets, and was the fastest brandish possible amidst the steel thread technique employed by Yae. Something that Ao might have called an ultimate move. She had confidence that this invisible thread attack of undiscernible range, a flash of absolute death, could vanquish any opponent, and yet Rem had avoided it. And that was not just once, but twice. Dude, you cannot tell me that Rem is not best girl, bro. Bro. The little sister of the reincarnation of the Demon King, the Oni King. You think she can't box? Get the fuck out of here, bro. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here, bro. 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 Dude, get the fuck out of here. Y'all thought that like Rem was just, oh, she's just like a Subaru sim. Oh, she had some great riding in the beginning. Nah. Sure. When she awakened the first time, that shit was fun. And not a lot of people may have liked the like missing memories Rem arc. Cool. Some people may even say that she got her memories back too easy and there wasn't like enough like emotional buildup. Like sure. I hear you. But what she does when she's out, bro, Rem is all like, anytime Rem's on screen, she's making a presence. Easy. Damn it. Fuck. In its initial reveal, It had been an attack that aimed to take out both Rem and Amelia at once. Since that had been averted this time, she aimed not just for the neck, but for the chest, unleashing the single flash so that it could not be dodged by the retraction of the head. It sliced through the winds as if to proclaim that it would not allow any fluke evasions. Hence, the fact that Rem managed to avoid it was no miracle or fortuity. It was inevitable. Rem had fully seen through Yae's steel thread technique. The ice fog had already vanished from their surroundings, and so this was a different method to how Amelia had perceived the steel threads based on how the ice particles were being sliced, though she had no way to confirm the exact principle behind it. Won't let you do that! No longer keeping up the appearances that were meaningless to keep up, Yae muttered as she tensed the corners of her mouth. Won't let them do that! Won't let them go! Won't let them stop him! Yae would thwart both Amelia and Rem. Stretching out his wings of stone, Al had fled to the sky without waiting on the outcome of this battle. Even if he had left her behind, Yae would not take that as him abandoning her. It was not impossible that he had abandoned her. But Al had a tendency to be frugal. He would not easily give up on the pawns and cards in his arsenal, and so Yae would take Al's breakaway as him entrusting it to her. She would interpret it as an order to stop the two who were chasing after him, no matter what it took. Hence, Al granted it to Yae, a license to kill. Even if it means killing you, I'll stop you. I'll stop them. I'll stop them, no matter what it takes. I will stop them. She would see to it that Al accomplished his objective. Anything that might get in the way of that would be removed. Everything was so that she could have Al, floundering after having lost Priscilla, who was on his own. Specialness disappeared from the world as soon as possible. After all, if she did not do so, Yae Tenzen would be unable to return to the self who obeyed the ironclad law of the shinobi, to the self who would never give her heart to anything, and to the self that loathed being special, who distanced herself from it at all cost. And like the symbolism between Rem essentially having to confront like the talented, prodigious, red-haired girl. This is like low-key some commentary about her fighting her sister. Low-key. Like I mean, it's not like a theory or anything about like the symbolism. I'm just like putting up like my my 2 cents thoughts, but like yeah, dude. This feels like the unofficial Rem versus Ram fight. But also the fight of the maids that love the MC of their world, essentially. Like, it's peak. Your stars were bad. Oh my god. Okay. Alright, Al. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you, bro. Damn it. Oh, wait. Music stopped. My bad. Hold on. Alright, we had to switch it up. Anyway. Your stars were bad. The man whose heart she had certainly gouged out hurled those words at her in the same tone, even when faced with that abnormal sensation or situation. Yae's body acted without delay, stripping him of his life for a second time. Someone who would not die even when killed. This was not her first encounter against such an individual. There were a great number of bizarre and astonishing people in this world, and she had even fought against someone who had not just 2, but 3 hearts. All she needed to do was crush all 3 hearts for that person to properly die. The important thing was to just keep killing them until they died. She lopped off his head, bisected his torso, burned his whole body, plucked off all limbs, tore out his throat, smashed his skull, gouged his eyeballs, peeled all the skin off his back, shattered all of his bones, crushed his organs, fed him poison, plunged him into the ground, plunged him into water, wrung his neck, wrung everything other than his neck. Testing out all manner of shinobi techniques on him, she robbed him of the benamed life, enacting every conceivable manner of slaughter as she drove the act of killing to its absolute limit. Your stars are bad. No matter how many times she killed him, Al would get back up, hurling those same words at her. Wielding the entirety of the shinobi techniques in her arsenal and attempting every countermeasure that came into her mind, Yae finally abandoned rationale and tried yielding herself to her instincts, but she still could not kill him. She had failed to fully kill him. Your stars are bad. She attempted to put him through torture that would make him regret being born. It was all for naught. She attempted to abandon her mission and get away. It was all for naught. She attempted to drag other people into the fray. It was all for naught. And finally, having enough, she even attempted to put a thread around her own neck and end it all. Your stars were bad. Damn it, Aura. Even that was all for naught. Your stars were bad. The repetitions of the same dialogue, an unending helix loitering in the interval between death and death, conferred with those same things for a time that seemed to stretch on forever and ever. For the first time in her life, Yae Tenzen knew dread. Your stars were bad. If it meant she could be saved, she was willing to do anything. She vowed to do anything. If it meant she could put an end to this, she was willing to do anything. She vowed to do anything. Your stars were bad. Even with dread newly awakened in her heart, she won no pardon from Al, from the man, from the monster. Your stars were bad. Even after her heart was exhaustively shattered beyond repair. The monster's indifferent cruelty showed no signs of stopping. That is disgusting though. That is crazy. She was unable to even keep count anymore. There existed none in the world whom Yae had fought to the death as much as this monster. A countless number of times, Yae had killed him, and a number of times she wished not even to count. Yae had been killed by him. Your stars were bad. This kind of individual, there was nobody else like him. Such a thing was not needed. She did not want to even consider the chance of there being another. Even now that she had been released from that endless torment on the monster's whim, even now that she had pledged obedience to him and was devoting her entire being to his objective, it was being engraved into the depths of her soul. Your stars were bad. There was no choice but to have the monster, to have that man, to have Al disappear as soon as possible. After all, no matter the trigger, no matter the reason, no matter the relationship, Yae Tenzen's heart must never be shackled to anyone. Your stars were bad. After all, her heart must never be shackled to anything. Your stars were bad. As Ye's lips spun these words, an invisible light of decapitation surged forth, aiming for Rem's slender neck. Perceiving that onslaught and sensation of goosebumps, perceiving that alongside the sensation of goosebumps on her skin, Rem reflexively swung her arm, gripping the Morning Star, swatting away the flash by wedging the chain into its trajectory. The boundary of death, unmistakably, they were standing on the boundary of death. It was the type of risk situated that Rem had not encountered when she had lost her memories and fighting strength in the Valakian Empire. And at present, Rem was in a state that she had never managed to reach before having lost her memories. Even in the battles against the Sin Archbishops and the White Whale. Subaru-kun. Amidst sensations that seemed as if her organs were quaking and her blood was boiling, the greatest heat was stored within the horn sprouting from her head. Vividly experiencing the strength, emotions, and pulsations of the world pouring in from there, Rem roused her soul by calling out the name of that darling boy. Synergizing the advice she had received from the dazzling Sun Princess, With the swell of feelings towards her beloved, the Oni clan blood flowing through Rem's veins was finally able to exhibit its original specs. Even so, the gap in abilities between Rem and Yae was vast, so the fact that she was able to persist so much against someone ranked among the foremost powerful individuals Rem had witnessed until this point was not solely thanks to her own strength. In order to stop Yae, to stop Ao and his group, this was the culmination of the many forces who had endlessly refused to back down. Starting at the Pleiades watchtower, a clash with the Felt Camp, and then a battle at the royal capital, followed by Otto's relentless pursuit. By using this divide and conquer tactic and steadily piling on the irregulars, Ao's group was bound hand and foot by the inescapable chains of attrition. What had allowed the gap in strength between Rem and Yae to be temporarily bridged was the weight of those chains. In addition to that, an ironic twist of fate had become a tailwind for Rem. That was Yae grit her teeth as one of her fingers sprung out, sending a thread reeling out as it sliced through the air in an onslaught towards Rem. As countless severing flashes rained down upon her, Rem keenly sensed them through her horn. Chaining together perfect evasion after perfect evasion, she made it out with the life that ought to have been cut short, ferociously clinging to the battlefield. The secret to that evasion, seemingly brushed by the hand of the divine, no, by the hand of an Oni, lay in but one thing: bloodlust. She could see it, she felt it. It was coming through her, through the horn of the Oni clan. Her opponent's intent was transmitted. It's Yae's bloodlust that's making Rem able to be more perceptive of her shit. Man, okay. Okay. Hold on, chat. Okay. Shit. Forgot where I was. Sippy sip. Hey, this is Mighty Switch Force. She could see it. She felt it. It was coming through her. Through the horn of the Oni clan, her opponent's intent was transmitted. That vividly covered boundary of death, evading it, tracing it, and bouncing it back, Rem closed in on Yae. This is a long ass fucking chapter. Just before Emilia had set off, and just after Ao had fled the battlefield, Yae's attacks started to be tinged with a definite bloodlust. A boisterous dance of bloodlust, showing no hesitation in Yae's will to decapitate her or slice off all four of her limbs, vehemently stimulated her Oni clan's instincts, ironically yielding a state of hyper reactivity within Rem. If Yae had kept to the initial policy of no killing and faced off against Rem, she would have likely rendered Rem powerless much sooner. As the result of starting to go all out with her true abilities as a shinobi, Yae's attacks had lost their ability to reach Rem. If not an ironclad tailwind, just what could this be called? Digging her toes into the revolving ice disc as she supported her body, Rem grasped Yae within the field of vision, glistening with ice shards flying about, the smile gone from her face as she stared at her. The figure of Yae sharpening her almond-shaped eyes was so captivatingly beautiful as she regulated her heart. As for what was sustaining her supply-tempered body, Rem understood perfectly. What had filled Yae's slender body to the brim was a sense of duty, a wish that she needed to fulfill at all costs, and a prayer that she wished to accomplish no matter what it took. Those were the things that granted Yae extraordinary power. giving her the resolve to not even care about making an enemy of the world. Thus, as for where that sense of duty originated from, well was well aware it's probably love. After all, Rem is the same way. With the horn growing out of her forehead, her entire body littered in wounds while plummeting down head first from 5,000 meters up high. The reason why Rem was standing here now was also because of a sense of duty. A wish that she needed to fulfill at all costs. And a prayer that she wished to accomplish no matter what it took. Those were the things that granted Rem extraordinary power, giving her the resolve to throw everything away in order to save a single person. Thus, as for where this sense of duty originated from, Rem had no reason to keep it hidden. That was... Yep, that almost got me. That almost got me. I haven't even taken that out yet. Love! One who knows little often repeats it. As Rem howled, Yae's voice filled with an irritation in response. The expression of the shinobi, the congealed or perhaps fabricated emotions that would by no means ever reveal her true feelings, slowly began to unravel. However, Rem would not interpret that as conceit, carelessness, or lack of experience. Gritting one's teeth was only natural. That is, if one was to devote their everything for the sake of another. In the corner of her eye, amidst the fierce battle, a line engraved into the cliff face raised Rem's attention. The Agzad Canyon, 5,000 meters, the final stretch. All that remained until they reached the bottom was 10 seconds! While fighting off the thread storm that seemed as if a tidal wave closing in, Rem deliberately called... Oh, this shit's gonna be animated so fucking good. Called that out. She would give her information, increase the factors for decision making, disrupting her thinking and causing hesitation in just one or two of those 20 digits of her hands and feet. She would irritate her, strip her emotions down bare, and make Yae hate her, making her overflow with malice, emitting with murderous intent. She would slip past it, slip past, slip past, slip past, slip past, slip, and then here! Just as Rem and Amelia had planned, 5 seconds after the final 10 seconds commenced, an impact from directly below would mercilessly perforate the ice discus. Your stars were bad. Indeed, the monster residing in Yae's heart would often mutter those words. Even now, the man's voice that Yae felt like she had heard over however many thousands and tens of thousands of times still haunted her dreams. At first, she had found that the catchphrase of owls to be rather odious. After all, even the stars would eventually get tired of being blamed for anything and everything and would end up wanting to object. Even though it was not the stars' fault that Yae's heart had been chipped and shattered, and was rather unmistakably the monster's fault, how could he dare to shift the blame like that? Only she gradually came to realize that she had been mistaken. That this was not the man's shifting blame. Your stars were bad. Whenever he spoke those words, Al was by no means celebrating his triumph. Present there was nothing like contempt or scorn, but rather things akin to pity and compassion. As proof of that, the monster, the man, Al, had refrained from saying it. Following the death of Priscilla Barrio, he did not resort to saying the stars had failed him. When his own worthless self had failed to save her life, he did not resort to saying the stars had failed him. Your stars were bad. Whenever the monster, whenever the man, whenever Al spoke those words, it was always on the occasion that his own outrageous power thwarted the desires or goals of an opponent. Those words spun out of pity, compassion, and feelings of guilt were always to impart this sentiment onto the other party. It isn't your fault. Such was its significance. Ah, how unpleasant. How unpleasant, how unpleasant, how truly unpleasant. She had not wanted to realize such a thing. Al's words, the man's gaze, the monster's heart. She had not wanted to realize any of those things. Yae did not want to discover any motivation other than dread from Al. She did not want to embrace it. She did not want to feel it. Therefore, as soon as possible, she wanted to put an end to it. Upon this specialness, she did not wish to bestow any name other than dread. Everything is the fault of the stars. Hearing those sounds spill from her own lips, Yae snapped back to reality after her consciousness trailed off for just a moment. At that moment, she could tell that her body had been blown into the air and that her field of vision was spinning around. A crash, yes, there had been a crash. Something had struck the ice discus from below, and the impact had shattered the ice had also run through Yae. When she glanced down at the edge of her consciousness to see what shattered the ice discus, there was a summit of an enormous mountain of ice that had been erected at the bottom of the canyon, in which they had fallen down thousands of meters, freezing the great river that ran through the ravine floor. It had been shaped into a dreadfully colossal mask of ice, laying in wait for the falling ice discus. Factoring in the momentum of their descent, the air resistance, and the number of seconds they had been falling, she estimated that the distance of the fall was roughly 5,000 meters. The only geography matching those specifications that she could not. Sorry. Damn it. I'm sorry. I'm so into it. Like I'm reading. I'm into the shit. Factoring in the momentum of their descent, the air resistance, and the number of seconds they had been falling, she estimated that the distance of the fall was roughly 5,000 meters. The only geography matching those specifications that she could think of was the Agzod Canyon, the largest canyon in the world. Witnessing the great feat that was freezing the river that ran along its bottom, Yae realized just how extraordinary Amelia's magic truly was. But what struck her the most deeply was, "You're quite the tough woman, aren't you?" Amidst her revolving vision, fragments of the shattered ice disc sparkled like diamonds dusk within the breathtaking scenery, and therein did Yae catch sight of Rem, crowned by her shining horn. At the moment of the crash, Rem had fled to the sky in order to avoid the impact, and using the scattered ice blocks as platforms to accelerate, she was about to come charging at Yae, who also still remained in the sky. She had been tricked into thinking that there was 10 seconds left onto impact, when in reality, there had only remained 5. To lose one's composure was a blunder unbecoming of a shinobi. To lag behind was a folly unbecoming of a maid. And to go against the duty entrusted to her was a deed unbecoming of the Crimson Sakura. Damn it. Damn it, chat. Hold on. All right, we're still going. And I remember this time. To lose one's composure was a blunder unbecoming of a shinobi. To lag behind was a folly unbecoming of a maid. And to go against the duty entrusted to her was a deed unbecoming of the Crimson Sakura. Your stars were bad. Neither was that directed towards the only girl drawing near before her eyes, nor towards herself as she put on such a disgraceful display, but rather toward the one no longer present here, toward the monster who had soared far into the distance. Yae spoke with the same nuance that the monster would always attach whenever he hurled those words at another. She spoke those words to the monster. The impact Yae had been struck by had caused her entire body to creep, and she was even unsure if all her limbs were still properly attached. But this numbness was nothing. She had already overcome numbness back during her poison resistance training. This sensation in her hands and feet was nothing. All the bones in her body had already been broken back during her torture drills. This cloudiness of mind was nothing. She had already surmounted the training to fight in near-death state, with vast amounts of blood drained from her body. The fact that every single one of those things was now useful to her made her feel like she could hear the village chief's wily laughter, which aggravated her. It aggravated her, but... Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions of times, she had repeated the same movements. The steel threads that had seen no wielder in several hundreds of years, that which demanded delicate skill to move one's fingertips by millimeters at the utmost precision. In a state of numbness, low on blood, and with a clouded mind, Yae operated them. Even if 70% of her life source poured out of her body, the digits pulling those steel threads would not err. She pulled tight on her extended arms and legs, and in that moment, the chunks of ice bound by those steel threads ferociously bolted through the sky. The fragments of the shattered ice discus ensnaring them with her threads, Yae had them whirl violently through the air to match her body's rhythm, slamming them right into the side of Rem as she charged towards her. A thunderous crash rang out, and Rem was sent flying away by an ice chunk of vehement vigor. And as if to kick Rem when she was down, the ice chunks caught by the steel threads crashed into her, one after another, after another, after another. The barrage of powerful blows rained down upon her as she slammed into the summit of the ice mountain. A white spray of snow was blown up into the air, and with blood mixing into the enshrouding ice fog, the ice mountain would be made into the Oni's gravestone. That instant, the gravestone was perforated, and the iron ball shooting straight out of it thrust directly into Yae. The spikes accompanying that heinous lump of iron gouged into Yae's torso, deeply penetrating the side of her abdomen. But she had avoided damage to her vital organs by shifting them aside. Through her inhumane shinobi modifications to her flesh, Yae could shift the positioning of her internal organs. The spikes pierced a cavity with nothing in it, scattering blood from her back. However, this was a blow she had deliberately taken. Tightening her muscles, she trapped the spike iron ball into her own body. Subsequently, emerging out of the enshrouding white fog of snow was the blood-stained Oni, ferociously leaping upwards as she followed the chain of the iron ball that had struck into Yae. Her trajectory was perfectly straight, bereft of any twist or artifice, a straight line following her heart. Awaiting in her path as she soared up was the deployment of steel threads laid out in a web. Voluntarily diving into the steel thread barricade that would tear her body to shreds, it birthed countless lacerations upon Rem's white skin as it attempted to cut her body up into hundreds of little chunks of meat. But just before that could come to fruition, Rem's lips spun an incantation. Huma! It was a spell that created ice, one that she had thoroughly borne witness to throughout the course of this battle. For Rem to opt for that in the 11th hour, Yae's entire body was on guard for where the ice could be created. Exercising her sense in the 360 degrees of every direction around her, she readied herself to defend against any kind of surprise attack. However, that had been unnecessary. There was no surprise attack. The ice took shape right before Yae's eyes. The stream of feedback from the steel threads that ought to have carved Rem's body to shreds came to a halt. Taking a look, the steel threads that had dug into her flesh had been stopped by red ice, her own frozen blood. As soon as Yae comprehended that, her kiss of steel threads aligned with flames, and the explosive heat melted the frozen blood and attempted to recommence the lethal thread attack. But it was too late. Yeah! Without overlooking the momentary bending of the threads, Rem howled as she raised her fists against Yae. A blow imbued with the resolve to settle this battle, alongside the power to make that happen. The fact that Rem's blood-stained white fist held such might was something that Yae perceived from her measurements. Hence, she would not take this blow. She could not afford to take this blow. After all, she still had Emilia to take care of. In order to reach that point, she drew her trump card. The mobilization of steel threads utilizing all 20 of the digits between her hands and feet had been evaded by the enemy. But it was not over. It was not over yet. The trump card of Yae Tenzen's steel thread technique, sticking out her red tongue as if to provoke her opponent. Bleh! Out from the ring placed on the tip of her tongue, her final flash of severance was unleashed. True to its aim, it struck the slender neck of Rem as she ferociously approached, rending her life in a single brandish. The Crimson Sakura Yae Tenzen was an unparalleled genius of a shinobi. The vicious old man, Old Bart Dunkelkin, held her talents and capabilities in a very high regard. The person in question very much hated being praised so highly, but that adverse reaction seemed only to fuel Albart's sadistic delight, and so he had never let her hear the end of it. Given his years of experience, he was likely stronger than her overall, but her raw talent far exceeded his own. So with enough years of experience, she would easily transform into the strongest shinobi, untouchable by anyone. Hence, she could somewhat understand why some might have been big dreams for Yae. Be that as it may, he was his own person, and other people were other people. There was no point in dreams that were fulfilled by someone else. Hence, still harboring big dreams of his own, the only thing Olbart could do for that genius girl was offer her some heartfelt advice. No, a warning. You don't wanna? Listen, I've been there myself. Remarkable folk like the two of us end up living longer than most ordinary shinobi, without even realizing it. And we end up seeing tons of things. So occasionally, there will be times when you'll have to end up breaking the ironclad law of the shinobi. You think it's a matter of people who don't hold anything dear to them being weak? Nah. You ain't getting it. What I'm saying, it'd be something more like you can't deal with a poison that you don't know, yeah? You make brats drink poison when they're young so they won't die from it later. And so, telling you that it'd be fine to keep at least a single something in your heart, that's just some advice to keep you from dying. After all, never I loved nor I've ever been loved. Makes you end up incredibly weak, that sort of thing. I'm telling you, the first time a shinobi goes and starts holding something dear, with the brandish of her trump card, a steel thread bolted out from the ring placed over her tongue, and without it reaped the slender neck of the Oni girl leaping towards her, severing the connection between head and torso. I have a connection. Before I keep reading, was like the connection between Beetlejuice and Subaru even more profound? Because the fact that his first encounter with Beetlejuice, he used his unseen hand, he used his hands essentially to strangle Rem, and that is known to be the preferred way that Subaru would kill someone, by strangulation. Is it because of that scene? Is it because of that? Is that Juice's influence? Or is that something that he had in his own that he can relate to Juice for? We gotta talk about more shit, chat. Like, y'all don't really be trying to really talk about shit in the... Come on, man. Anyway, annulling the no killing restriction, She had succeeded in the elimination of one of the obstacles standing in the way of Al's objective. Thinking of that fact, and anticipating Al's reaction when he learned of this, Yae felt a grating sense in the depths of her chest. Huh? Just before she could digest that heartache, Yae widened her eyes, doubting the sight before her eyes. Beyond any shadow of a doubt, Yae's steel thread had severed Rem's slender neck. She had distinctively felt the sensation that accompanied cutting away a prey's life, and she had certainly heard the rasp of the wind that blew upon severing the blood and flesh and bone that made up a life. And despite that, I wasn't exactly playing fair either. Yae's crimson eyes intersected Rem's pale blue ones, and there was still light to be found in those eyes. Then, the red line emblematic of her reaped life, one that certainly ought to have been left as a mark on her neck, slowly faded away. Neither had she protected against it, nor had she evaded it. The blow that by all means was supposed to have taken her life had been cancelled. It was not something that could be simply explained by the regeneration possessed by the Oni clan, a miracle that should have never happened. Even in this vast world, the likes of someone capable of wielding that level of healing magic was Al-sama! The monster who, even when making an enemy of the world, seemed like he would absolutely never lose. She had wanted to assist him. She had hoped that by doing so, she would be able to erase the specialness living within her own heart, and yet, your stars were bad. Shutting her eyes, she once again heard the dreadful words that seemed to make all her hair stand on end. Though, oddly enough, right now, in this moment, the feeling they inspired within Yae was not dread, but instead, the cause of my defeat is love. The powerful arm unleashed alongside that answer smashed into the iron ball stuck within Yae's torso. Far more lethal than the fall from 5,000 meters, the Oni's thunderbolt exploded atop the icy crown of the mountain amidst crags of the Agzad Canyon. Cherry blossoms fluttered down as though in requiem. Before the blue Oni, the crimson sakura known as Yae Tenzen, ephemeral as her namesake petals, was scattered in the wind in violent splendor. Yae's backstory was great. Absolutely amazing. There was a lot of parallels to Rem, her backstory, just like the Oni village backstory. Lots of parallels. The action, the choreography, crazy work. Delicious, nutritious, scrumptious. I'd say some of like the best we've had during this like phase, like let alone this arc, right? Us understanding Yae, like us assuming that she's actually like dead, right? Before the blue Oni, the crimson sakura known as Yae Tenzen, ephemeral as her namesake's petals, was scattered to the wind in violent splendor. Damn, bro. I am going to read some comments. I'm just not gonna really comment if it's like bullshit. If she perma-died, that would like If, dude, top A, please, 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 give this to Rem. Please give this to Rem. Please give this to Rem. If Rem perma killed a character of this fucking stature, I will, dude, I'll have to cosplay Rem in my next stream. Dude. Yeah, Petra nonsense scares me. Oniga nonsense. Like, okay. These are decent comments. All right, chat. Okay. It's time. I'm going to read the first. Is that a gospel? I'm gonna read the first page of Aldebaran. There is nobody who can defeat you, you whom I created. Chapter 52, Arc 9. Aldebaran. I did not think that I would be reading this in my lifetime. Aldebaran recalled the witch imparting those words onto him as if it were yesterday. In real time, it would have been close to 20 years ago, but in terms of perceived time, it was a completely different order of magnitude. Even if he remembered the number of attempts he had needed for individual deadlocks, he had not memorized the total number of attempts he had taken across everything, not to mention the amount of time that had passed throughout all of that would have been so outrageous that he did not want to even think about it. Only, it was an absolute truth that he was expending far more time than a single lifetime would usually allow. Be that as it may, even after going through all that time, it would be incorrect to assume that Aldebaran had reached the same mental state as the elves who lived for hundreds of years in perennial youth. If the human mind was something that started out as immature before eventually maturing enough to reach a state of aged wisdom, that was because the passage of time would allow one to experience both the sweet and sour, granting the mind ample room to grow. But all the time Aldebaran spent outside the passage was actually of actual time was, so to speak, a series of stagnant moments used to break through whatever difficulty was laid before his eyes. In practice, those would range from a few seconds to a few minutes at most. And just by repeating those small intervals countless times, a human could not hope to grow. Ergo, Aldebaran believed that the accumulation of time repeated by his authority was time spent in futility, something that only ever served to adore or aberrate his heart and never to foster its growth. Even if it was time spent in such futility, when it got to the point of repeating several hundreds, tens of thousands, hundreds of millions of times, the brain would automatically begin filtering memories, attempting to rob Aldebaran of his genuine recollections. One of the greatest chapters yet. This has been your boy Zero, aka Black Natsuki Subaru. If y'all haven't already, support the release of these videos by giving it a like. Let me know, like, even if you don't give it a like, just drop a comment saying like, or just drop a comment saying like, keep going, because this is the type of shit that we need to hear. A lot of us do, for different reasons. There's a reason why certain people stop doing certain things. things. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to stop making ReZero content remotely anytime soon. I'd rather die than stop making ReZero content. So just know that it's gonna keep coming, but I appreciate it when you guys are dropping comments, checking me on misinformation that I may have, expanding on things that I may not fully grasp in the moment, hyping up certain moments that like I'm hype about. Like literally just engage. The engagement goes further than you can possibly imagine for me. Not even for the algorithm. I'm not making money off of like my ReZero content. Not really. Unless you count like cents per video. This is we're some of the only people in the developing stages of the internet who are going to be able to catalog on some type of media, some type of vlog, website, app, our first time experiencing stories that will go down in legend to the point of being in the history books for our later generations. This is shaping up to be one of the greatest works in any medium that I have ever consumed. Period. I want to put my respect on the name of ReZero and say that the next reading, which is gonna go up the day after this, huge. It's already out. But me reading it for the first time, different. I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one. Peace.